Hi, everyone, and welcome to Make America Healthy. My name is Beth Shaw. I'm the host of this podcast, the founder of Yoga Fit Training Systems Worldwide, and the author of 4 best-selling books on health and wellness. I'm coming to you live today from the Be Yoga Fit studio in beautiful Lauderdale by the Sea. And we are very excited to educate you, empower you, and inspire you to learn about holistic approaches to chronic illnesses. We've got a very special guest for you today, Dr. Stephen Cabral, who is an expert on chronic illness. Dr. Cabral has an amazing bio. I'm going to let him introduce himself to you. Welcome to the show, Dr. Cabral.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me on.
Your credentials were almost too long to read them. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what makes you an expert on holistic approaches to chronic illnesses.
The short version is that I had my own chronic health history as a child, and then specifically from 17 years old through 27 years old, I suffered from multiple autoimmune issues, type 2 diabetes, Addison's disease, chronic inflammatory syndromes, mast cell activation syndrome, et cetera. Many of your followers and audience will probably be familiar with those. And what I was never taught as a child, and even in my 20s, was that there are underlying root causes that cause all disease in this world. And when you discover what those are, which are basically toxicities that we get gut-wise, or it might be, for example, parasites, or it might be yeast-based, whatever it is that builds up in the body that's overgrown could be an issue, and also deficiencies. So what ultimately happened is that I met my mentor, Dr. Pete, who shared with me how to get to the bottom of these through at-home lab testing, Ayurvedic-based science, and then a little bit through genetics. And along that journey, I became a personal trainer, certified nutritionist, actually went and took a yoga fit-based certification, also, of course, became a doctor of naturopathy, became board certified, studied all around the world, and eventually created a practice that was truly integrative, taking into consideration healing the whole person, not just the specific symptoms of disease.
Can you give our listeners just a brief overview of your philosophy on managing chronic illness through holistic medicine?
The first step is to always discover the underlying root cause as to what led to these disease symptoms. So, for example, at 17 years old, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune issue called rheumatoid arthritis. Now, I've always had the same genetics and still the same genetics to this day, but I didn't get diagnosed with that until 17. Then after 27 years old, though, I no longer ever had rheumatoid arthritis again. So now I'm 47 years old, almost 47. And so 17 years, didn't have it. 10 years, had it. Now the next 20 years, don't have it. But I still have the same genetics. So the difference is always finding out what fills up that proverbial rain barrel, leading to the overflowing. That can be from too little of something in the body, we call deficiencies, or too much of something called toxicities. Through at-home lab testing, not just blood work. Blood work is great, but it's not the end-all be-all. You're able to discover your personalized plan to rebalance your body and return you to health.
That's quite a story, and it's very young to be getting rheumatoid arthritis.
It was, yes. And for me, my issues were allergies, food sensitivities, all sorts of gut issues. But really at 14 years old, I began to take amoxicillin twice a day for 3 years for acne. And so what it led to, and we didn't know this back in the 90s, was that it led to massive gut permeability and leaky gut, which 90% of all people with an autoimmune issue have some degree of what are called lipopolysaccharides from leaky gut. My gut became very permeable through taking over 3,000 capsules of amoxicillin before the age of 18 years old.
Wow, that's a lot of pills.
Yes, it is.
What do you think some of the key differences are between conventional and holistic medical approaches to treating chronic conditions?
I just want to say many of my colleagues are medical doctors, and they're brilliant. They're amazing people. What I want to share is this, is that a primary care physician, they see on average 16 to 30 people per day. Their job is to look at your blood work. It is to do a short consultation. On average, it's approximately 7 minutes is what they found. And then they have to diagnose you and then give you a medication based on the entire medical model. That does not allow for looking at just someone's stress levels, their emotional balance. There's just so much more to this. I didn't get sick just from amoxicillin. I got sick because I was very stressed as a teenager. I was a perfectionist. I was trying to maintain National Honor Society to try to get a scholarship to college. I was working 2 jobs during the summer. I was trying to go out with my friends, like all sorts of different things led to a lot of stress. That's never really talked about at a doctor's office. It is with a holistic health practitioner, but not necessarily at your PCP. American conventional medicine is set up as a pill for every ill. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but that is what it is. Now, it's the best in the world when you have an acute-based illness. That means you're having a heart attack or you have some medical emergency, you need to go to the emergency room. Best in the world, and I won't deny that. But if you have a chronic health issue, meaning that it's been going on for more than 6 weeks, it's almost an impossibility that conventional medicine is going to find the root cause and work on it. Instead, they're going to palliate the symptoms, whereas an integrative health practitioner will look for the root cause. It might take a little longer to get rid of those symptoms, but then they're gone versus getting rid of them in the short term, but the underlying root cause never going away.
That's very interesting. Acute versus chronic. In your experience, what is the most common chronic illness that conventional medicine really struggles to treat effectively?
If we look at the 5 leading causes for mortality, so humans right now are living 75 years to 78 years old or so for men versus women. Now, if we look at that, though, and the studies have shown that if you don't die from one of the 5 leading causes of mortality and death, you're going to live at least an extra 10 to 12 years. So you're going to live to 88 to 90 years old. My goal is I know we can get people to live 100 years healthily. I know that we can. Maybe human lifespan is capped right now at 120. We don't know. That seems to be the maximum lifespan as of right now. But we know we can get people to 100 healthily. Here's the issue. Chronic health right now, people die in their 70s from heart disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, and cancer. And all but the last one, cancer, can all be reversed. We know that. Alzheimer's is not reversible when it's in a terminal late stage. But if you are looking for Alzheimer's 10, 20 years in advance, once you get to about age 50 years old, you're able to see it start to progress each year, and you can begin to work on it and stop it at the very least, you can stop it. If not, you can reverse it. Now, heart disease, all of these things are reversible, if not terminal. So heart disease, high cholesterol, however you want to look at it, inflammation of the arteries, high blood pressure, vascular issue as well. And then we have type 2 diabetes, all reversible. And so for me, that's what we look at first. But then, of course, there's autoimmune, there's psoriasis, there's migraines, there's all sorts of other issues that are chronic health issues that really lower people's quality of life. So it's not just length of life, it's also quality of life that we refer to as health span versus just lifespan.
Yeah, we've had a lot of guests, including Dr. Barry Sears, talk about health span versus lifespan. Let's talk briefly about the role of diet, lifestyle, and mental health in the management of chronic illnesses. I know you're treating patients, you're having success, but I would imagine that a lot of times you have to get them to change their behavior dramatically in order for success to occur. And success in this case is healing.
Totally agree. And so when I was first starting in practice, so back in the late 90s, I started as a certified nutritionist, certified personal trainer, and I just continued to probably get 2, maybe 3 certifications per year because we all needed continuing education. And this was all new to me. I was really excited about it, actually. I got to study things that I wanted to study outside of my undergrad work. And so what I began to accumulate was all this knowledge. And the problem is when a client came to me, I wanted to give them all that knowledge all at once. And that didn't work. People weren't getting results because I asked them to do, honestly, too much. And I gave them, no exaggeration, about a 30-page plan. And people would bring it back to me and it was in pristine condition. I'm like, oh, they're not even looking at this after the first appointment. So what I did was completely change how I started to work with people. I gave them 2 sheets of paper. That's it. One was their nutrition and their nutritional supplementation. And the second one was just what we call a graduated exercise program or protocol to just get them moving. And it also worked on sleep. Really basic recommendations. Then I knew I was going to meet with them. As a personal trainer, I would meet them weekly. As a functional medicine doctor or doctor of naturopathy, I would meet them every month to 2 months. And so I would see where they are, and then I would just progress them based on how they could progress. Many people just started with working up to 10,000 steps per day. They didn't start at 10,000 steps. They just started where they were right now and added 10 more minutes of walking, which is about 1,000 steps. So when I look at it though, when I teach other practitioners today, we really work on nutrition and we work on supplementation first because they move the needle the fastest, which gives people some quick wins. They start to feel a little bit better, and then they're more open to doing yoga. They're doing more open to taking their walking. They're in less pain. They're sleeping a little bit more. So that's how we work in our practice. There's not one exact method that you need to work. But what we found is, let's say there's gut issues. We have to fix the gut issue. We need to start actually wiring not just the mind, but the microbiome to have the bacteria that can actually produce what are called bacteroides and firmicutes to even help with a lot of this weight loss. It improves overall gut function. It decreases inflammation. And also it helps with nutrient absorption because you can have the best diet in the world, but if you're not absorbing nutrients because you have low stomach acid, poor bile production, or not the right bacteria in your gut, everything else is just more difficult when you're always feeling bloated or constipated. We like to work on those things first and then each month layer on a little bit more.
Wonderful. Tell us a couple of success stories that you've had.
We've had some wild success stories over the years where people were basically given no hope or they were given wrong diagnoses or they just struggled their whole life with a particular debilitating disease. One that I often share that comes to mind is that we work with a lot of women in our practice. Probably about 70% of our practice is women. This woman came to me. She's about 32, 33 years old. She had always struggled losing weight. She had tried everything, diets and exercise and whatever it might be. She came to me. I was probably like 26, 27 years old at the time. I said, this is what we specialize in. And I know we're going to be able to help you lose the weight, transform your body, feel great. That's what we did. And we were good at it. She came in the first 3 weeks, started losing the weight. She was doing great. She was happy. I was happy because my client success makes me happy. And then all of a sudden, after 4 weeks, it stopped working. And so I did what we oftentimes do for competitive bodybuilders we're working with or fitness models, whatever. We just buttoned it down even a little bit more. We said, okay, we're going to go even lower carb. We're going to add a little bit more HIIT training. We're going to do this. And she lost a little bit more weight and then it stopped. And then she started to actually gain a little weight back. And I was like, we can't reduce calories anymore. We can't even go lower carb. We can't add more exercise. I'm at a loss. And for me, that was a huge shot to my ego because I hadn't really seen this before. And it's not like this person wasn't putting in the work. They were, but they were exhausted. They go away on a week's vacation. They didn't go wild, but they relaxed. They had a stressful job. They relaxed, got some extra sleep, enjoyed a couple of good quality meals, even had a glass of alcohol with their significant other, came back. I said, we should probably just do a weigh-in just to be at our baseline for where we're at. I know you're away on vacation. She's down 6 pounds. Wow. 6 pounds in a week when she was starting to gain weight the other way. No exercise, no real diet, but a tremendous amount of stress lifted off of her and better sleep. And so at that point, I said, there's more to this than just calories in, calories out. So for both of us, that was a huge success story because I began to remap what her workouts looked like and actually focus on getting more of the sleep and the other things besides actually burning more calories or taking even less, which is essentially putting the body into more of a stress-based or I should say more high cortisol-based space. Good news is, took a little while of both of us working hard together. She ended up losing the weight, extremely happy in that regards. So that's one with body transformation. We have many of those that have come in with digestion issues where people can only eat 3, 4, 5 foods, no exaggeration. People have come in saying, I can only have corn chips, like these particular foods, and that's it. And I said, I get it. Listen, I've been there myself. I had candida overgrowth that went all the way up my stomach and my esophagus. They could even see it on a endoscopy that they did. I had SIBO and I had H. pylori. The only thing that they never found with me was parasites. I'm like, I had all the others plus leaky gut. And so what we did was we took a comprehensive look at their health, their gut, and we begin to slowly rebuild that gut microbiome through something called the CBO protocol. And at the same time, slowly reintroduce foods. And by doing that, we reacclimated the body and allowed them now to have a full, successful dietary plan where they could eat whatever they want. So it's basically helping a client do what they didn't think was possible and personalizing it for them. But also, we always say to our clients, listen, if you don't give up, I'm not giving up. We're going to eventually be able to solve this because there's only so many ways. Like when you look at low thyroid, there's 10 to 12 ways why someone might have low thyroid. So even if we were like really bad and we didn't even lab test anything, in 10 to 12 months, we could figure it out because it's only 10 to 12 things. So we could do one new one per month. So I always tell people, usually people heal within about 3 to 4 months, 6 months maximum for most people. Worst of the worst, we're getting you better in 8 to 12 months maximum.
That's a really interesting story and just goes to show you how powerful cortisol levels can be in people gaining and retaining weight. What
Absolutely.
challenges do patients typically face when they're transitioning from a conventional to a holistic treatment program for chronic illness?
Did you say what are the biggest challenges they face?
Yeah.
It is different in that you are now responsible for you. So it's one of the best things that you can learn, but also one of the hardest things. So most of us, myself,
in my experience, a lot of people, they will hand their health off to a doctor just because they actually don't want to take personal responsibility for their own health. But I don't
completely agree.
Health is something we can put in somebody else's hands.
I agree. And unfortunately, that is what we see is the only reason why people do not heal if they don't heal, is that they either relapse because they don't want the responsibility of being able to care for themselves, or that they feel a victim of their particular disease. I know what that's like, and I can empathize with that. So when you're sick, you sometimes get a lot more sympathy, and people are calling you, they're asking you, hey, how are you doing? And if you're well, and people know that, you may not get that same attention, or you may not have that same identity built up around it. You might not be a part of the online support groups, whatever it is. So what we have to work with is not just the physical, but the mental, emotional as well. And that's all part of it. But taking responsibility that this is your body, this is your mind, this is how you're moving through this life. It's yours. That is the biggest piece, because we're not saying, hey, take this statin for high cholesterol, take this beta blocker for high blood pressure, this insulin, metformin, whatever it might be for type 2 diabetes. We're saying, these are the deficiencies. These are the toxicities. This is I call it the de-stress protocol: the diet, the exercise, the stress reduction, the toxin removal, the rest, the emotional balance, the scientifically backed supplements, and the success mindset. So that's what we built over the years, is that it's 8 parts. The nice thing is, though, you don't have to be perfect at any one of them. If you're just 80% at all of them, that's good enough. Like, you're going to be able to heal instead of having to be 100% perfect at diet or any one of those things.
So what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of patient empowerment and a lot of education that needs to go on in order for success to happen.
I believe that's correct, but over time. So people can do something like our 21-day functional medicine detox and not know anything about it, how it works, but they can just follow the nutrition, follow the particular supplementation, the intermittent fasting, et cetera, and they can get the results they want. However, if they want that to stick for life, I do believe you need to start to learn why these things are happening, how they're happening, so that you can repeat the beneficial behaviors and begin to remove the actions that are harming you the most. So I do believe in the short term, you can get the results, but if you want to hold on to it, you need to know why.
Most definitely. So what advice would you give to someone who's currently struggling with a chronic illness? And, there's so many paths to take, and a lot of times people panic and they go right to the conventional Western medical doctor. What advice would you give to someone who is struggling with a chronic illness, who is considering the route of holistic treatment?
I would say that there is no alternative to alternative medicine. Meaning, if you truly want to get well, there's only one way to heal. Now, the healing takes place when you, as they say, remove the thorn from the elephant's foot. Like, it doesn't take place just by telling the elephant to stand on 3 legs, right? Like, the thorn will never go away. So when you have heart disease, you have that inflammation of the arteries, or the hardening of the arteries, for a reason. So yes, you can take a statin and shut down your statin production, but we also know that can decrease hormone production, that it can decrease your overall feelings and quality of life. It can harm brain function. It can lead to higher blood pressure because you didn't do anything about the inflammation in the first place. And the other piece to it is that it can still cause what's called cardiomyopathy. So it can still weaken your heart over time. And it's not just because it shuts down essentially coenzyme Q10 production. There are other factors to it. So when you look at it, you say, okay, sure, I'm buying myself time. And really the benefit of taking a statin is that you don't have to do anything, but it's not side effect free. Now, if you start to change your nutrition, you work on your exercise, you work on your stress, you use some healthy supplementation, now you're getting to the underlying root cause. That takes more work than taking a single pill. But now you improve your overall quality of life. So what we like to say is that diseases are names. We like to look at it as rather a collection of symptoms. And what we want to focus on is actually the attributes that you are looking for. So a lot of people are tired, they're run down, they have low ambition, low libido, low drive. They have all the lows in life. They're just not feeling as vital as they used to be. There's no medication that's going to give you back that vitality. But again, replacing those deficiencies and removing the toxicities brings the body back to life. It restores it. It revitalizes.
There are a lot of tests that people can take, obviously, that insurance may or may not cover. And then there are a lot of conventional tests that people, perhaps you would advocate for them to go and do. Everything from getting your heart checked to colonoscopy. How does the more Western traditional testing integrate with some of the more nuanced testing, like microbiome testing that you're doing?
What we do is called the Big Five lab tests, or the vitamin tox test, which is the starter kit. And that looks at food sensitivities and hormones. It looks at metabolism. It looks at omega-6s to omega-3 inflammation. It looks at your mineral levels. It looks at heavy metals and gut health, like you spoke about. But we do recommend that everybody run their annual blood work, either with their PCP or on their own. Because although that's not necessarily looking at a deeper underlying level of toxicities and deficiencies, it is looking at the disease state of the body. So it's looking at how well the body is maintaining homeostasis. But it is very important. We integrate, run your annual blood work. And if you're able to, and I know it's very expensive right now, but I believe the prices will come down over time. They've already come down about $3,000. You can have a full body MRI done to look for cancer years in advance, but when it's stage 1 or less. And it can look at Alzheimer's as well for $1,250. And they do it for even half that price if you don't want the brain scanned. So you can do a torso.
Do you have to go to the Mayo Clinic to get this done? Are there resources in most people's area? Where would people find out where to get a full body MRI?
So the least expensive place with the best technology right now is Simon One. They can do a full body MRI for, and again, in the future, I think it'll be less. So depending on when people listen to the show, full body MRI, checks for Alzheimer's, full body for cancer, $1,250. And then the torso MRI for about half that price. So let's say, okay, I'm not going to do it annually with the full body, but I'll do it first. And then if there's no sign of Alzheimer's or degradation, dementia of the brain, I'll just do the torso. And so that can be done, like I said, about $650. Those are all over the US. Pronovo is another, that's a very high-end company. It's almost twice that price, but you walk in and it feels like a spa, feels like a boutique. They're both great. I can recommend both.
And what was the name of the first one?
First one is Simon One. They're part of Simon Med. They've been around for many years. They're excellent. That's the other one that's been popping up, becoming more popular. You can look for them in your state. They're worldwide. You do pay out of pocket, but I believe they may accept HSA and FSA as well.
At what age do you think people should start down this road?
I used to say 45, 50 years old. The issue is that I've even had friends and colleagues get cancer in their 30s and 40s, testicular, prostate, colon. And so if you can, and again, it's expensive, but if you can, early 30s, do a scan. If everything's clean and clear, probably don't need to do another one for 3 to 5 years. And then as you get into your 40s, think about every year to every couple of years. And then when you get in your 50s, again, as long as you can afford it, it's like getting your blood drawn. It is an insurance policy that if anything were to pop up, you find it at stage 1, where it is 80 to 90% curable. Cancer is difficult to cure. I won't say that it's not. It's the one thing that we're still trying to make those medical breakthroughs on as you start to move to stage 3 and stage 4. And I'm not saying that I have all the answers to cure cancer. I'm certainly not saying that. What I want to say is that I take an integrative approach to that as well. I look at the best research. I find out the best studies from both natural health and conventional. I say, can we combine them to give people, because ultimately it should be about people, not about particular tests or dogma. It's what does it work? What works best for people? That's what I like to look at. And, truthfully, 10, 15 more years. That's why I say, keep yourself alive for the next 15 years. And if you can, the breakthroughs I think are going to be unbelievable using ethical-based AI and machine learning, and to be able to run studies through this at a much faster degree. We've already found it with AI picking up things that they never were able to before on PET scans, CAT scans, mammograms, and MRIs. And I don't even recommend mammograms.
And you know, the conversation that I have with many friends in the natural health space, and some states will not allow you to get a thermography, which all of my really holistic health friends advocate for as opposed to a mammogram. So it's interesting, a lot of these things, there's some states you can't even have your own blood drawn if you get a script for an out-of-state lab or something. So this is really a state-by-state thing. And it's unfortunate that as Americans, we don't have the right to really take our health into our own hands in every state.
It is challenging. And so I started to do online telewellness around 2011, 2012. And it was very difficult to get blood drawn in many different states. Massachusetts was one of those. So I was able to have a phlebotomist come in to my practice and do blood draws. But the truth is that I work with people out of state and they weren't necessarily able to. Now, I will say more than 10 years later that you can find many more options. And instead of a mammogram, an MRI, anyways, is so much better at detecting breast cancer, especially for women with dense breast tissue. And so I'm not against thermography. I think thermography is great. A higher degree of certainty would be using an MRI. And when I say a full body MRI, I just want to state that it's a non-contrast. So you're not putting any radioactive based dye in the body to light up any areas.
This has been really interesting and very educational for myself, as I'm sure it will be for the listeners. Where do we access your tests? Is that something that you need a doctor to prescribe for, or do you have telemedicine people have handle that?
Two things we offer is one, it's called the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, where our mission, you have your own mission, I have my mission. My mission is basically teach people what I do and what I was taught by my mentor, Dr. Pete. So our goal is to put a health coach in every home. So we love working with personal trainers, massage therapists, estheticians, yoga instructors to add on health coaching to what they do and be able to run their own at-home lab tests with their own clients, their family, themselves. And if they don't want to become an integrative health practitioner, they can purchase these same at-home lab tests at Equalife. And we have a doctor in all 50 states, plus Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and soon to be Europe, where we sign off on all of the labs and we ship them directly to people to look for those underlying root causes of disease, which are the deficiencies and the toxicities.
And do we have a code for our listeners?
We do. I know that we are going to have a special link for you, which is a discount on both of those. So I would love to get you those. I know our teams are working together. There's so many synergies, of course, between yoga and the healthy, holistic lifestyle and integrative health practitioners. These are the people that we love to talk with. We love to connect with. You do live events. We do live events. And just being able to share that with the two communities, I think, is absolutely fantastic. So happy to get you those. And if you have a show notes page, people can link those up.
We'll definitely put that in the show notes. Tell our listeners where they can find you.
My main website is stevencabral.com, and it's Steven with a PH. You'll be able to find my podcast, The Cabral Concept, from there. And then also my book, which is The Rain Barrel Effect. That was written for the general population to essentially teach people how we become unwell and then how we can get well using the de-stress protocol.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Cabral. It was a pleasure having you on Make America Healthy. We'd like to thank our sponsors. Our program sponsor, Previmedica, specializes in innovative testing for food sensitivities, micronutrient deficiencies, methylation, and more. I have taken their tests. They are very effective. I changed my diet as a result, and my body and my digestive system was much happier. They also have nutritional counseling, and they help people deal with nutrition, plans to address inflammation, weight and body composition issues, gut problems, headaches, breathing problems, and more. You can save 15% at checkout at previmedica.com by using the code YogaFit. You can also call them at 855-773-8463, extension 111, or email them at hello@previmedica.com. Thank you to Previmedica and Cell Sciences. We'd also like to thank our title sponsor, YogaFit Training Systems Worldwide, offering yoga and other mind-body wellness education. We have a comprehensive yoga therapy program, yoga for trauma, healing trauma with yoga, corporate wellness, live events, online trainings, live and pre-recorded, and so much more. Over 250 different educational programs, everything from yoga back to yoga core to yoga for diabetes and brain health, heart health. Please visit yogafit.com and you can save 15% at checkout by using the code MAE. We'd like to thank our sponsors, thank our listeners. If you enjoyed this show and you know someone who is struggling with a chronic illness, please share it. And until next time, everybody stay healthy, stay happy. Your health is your most valuable asset always, so take good care of it. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you.